Welcome, sports bettors. BetRepublic.com. Sonny Palermo here. Mr. Greg Dempson over here. And this is our NFL preview of the conference championship games. Having a good run in the playoffs. I'm sitting at 3-0 with BetRepublic on the NFL postseason. Finished last season 8-0, perfect 11-0 run here. My 2 seasons with BetRepublic. Let's get to this first game, Mr. Greg. Jets in Indianapolis. Who you liking?
Well, a little too soon to actually give you a play on that yet, Sonny. I'm still looking at it. The line opened at 7 real quick, and boom, as fast as you could say, let's move that line. It went up to 7.5, up to +8 at some books. I think they open with a bit of a soft number. The Jets have been, this will be, 6th time on the road in 8 weeks. They're certainly
used to it.
They're used to it, I'm going to say, and
adjusted to it.
They've adjusted to it. All the pressure is actually on Indy. No one expected them to go this far, and especially a lot of people figured they would at least lose straight up last week in their game against the Chargers. But Nate Keating helped them yet once again.
And North.
And North.
Don't downplay North's effort in the losing.
North's effort.
His contribution was huge.
Yeah, it was, because he's the guy, exactly.
He's the guy who kept running the ball.
He kept running the ball.
LT was good for 1 yard at a clip.
Exactly. So, Manning did not have a good game last time, so I don't think that bodes too well for the Jets. You don't see Peyton Manning play 2 bad ones in a row. They were lucky if Baltimore didn't turn that ball over 4 times.
Sure.
It could have been a different result there. The over-under was 41, so he went down to 40.5. I have a lean there on the under. A lot more work to be needed on this before I come up with a prediction in that game.
Opening line of 7 was definitely off. I'm a bookmaker. I spent 6 years bookmaking, did very well at it. You open that number at 7, you're going to get pure Indy money, especially when there are 1 or 2 houses who are at 7.5. And then you go to 7.5. Now, if it does land Indy 7, you are going to refund all the Indy 7, and you're going to pay out on all the Jets plus 7.5 if it lands Indy 7.5. So I thought it was a bad opening number. I jumped on it without doing any math, without doing any studying, any of my systems that I run through. I real quick jumped on the 7, teased it down to 1 with New Orleans, so I took up to 2.5. So I've got both of the favorites. All I got to do is win.
Yeah,
I kind of like it.
There's one angle that we didn't mention. The Colts, when they're playing at home against a team that gives up 17 or less points per game on average, going back to 1992, the Colts at home, they're 21-9 against the spread. Now, that's not just playoffs, that's any time. So they find a way to win against good defensive teams, okay? And 1992, of course, is before Manning was, going. But that's an angle there to consider with the home team. There's also a system against the home team and a system on the road team, and there's a few of them.
Game.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But we'll get into that in depth a little later.
I think the New York Jets are starting to pass themselves off as the New York Giants from a few years ago, who took the wild card route all the way through to a Super Bowl win. But I'd say there's one difference, that the Giants had a quarterback at the time.
Yeah.
Manning, while young, certainly was not a rookie, and they certainly were not afraid to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Like they are, the Jets don't want to throw the ball with Sanchez, and they should be afraid. This is a team that, Ryan also says we're doing this with our defense and our running game. Well, your defense gave up 175 yards on the ground
to Cincinnati.
Yeah. So that 175 yards on the ground to Benson is not too good in my book. I think they got by last round because the Colts, the Chargers, made a lot of mistakes. Played a very conservative game plan. They got out to that 7-point lead. Kind of went away from the passing in that first drive. They put up 50 yards of passing yards in that drive that scored the touchdown. They went to more run-oriented game. They had short control passes, never stretched the defense. I thought it was a horrible game plan. The Jets won by 3 points, but it took key turnovers, and it took 3 missed field goals. You can't handicap 3 missed field goals. Am I kidding?
No, you can't.
If they're going to play low-key game plan, wait till the other team makes a mistake, that worked in San Diego with Norv, it's not going to work with Manning instead of Rivers.
Sonny, they were so out of sync. It was almost like it was San Diego playing Pacific time on the East Coast. They started that game. They had to call 2 timeouts.
They were flat.
They were really flat. False start.
Not flat. They were not well prepared.
They weren't prepared, and they were out of sync. It's coaching. You're correct.
We had teams that had the week off. New Orleans came right back in sync. We had Indianapolis come in with a win, but just like the Jets win yesterday, Indianapolis win that game that they put up, 45 yards rushing. If you put that same game up, they had 5 yards more of total offense in Baltimore, you put that same offensive game against another team, like the Jets, for example, you're going home too.
Exactly.
And again, like Norv, he was not very aggressive with the passing downfield to open up the defense. So hopefully the Colts will be a little more in sync timing-wise. Manning overthrew a few guys. His timing should be there this week. Now he's had a week behind him. They had a little off time, and he got a week in. And I had an argument, debate with one or two guys. I said, "What do you mean? Indianapolis played great." I guarantee you, in that locker room right now, Manning is not thinking we played a great game. I guarantee he's more in my way of thinking.
Let me ask you a question.
We just got through it. We can't play like this again.
Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Out of all 32 quarterbacks, who is the best quarterback behind center at reading a defense in the NFL?
I take Manning's cerebral.
Absolutely.
He's cerebral.
So he's going to give the Jets a lot of headaches, I believe. Well, the other game, I think, is actually you have the two teams.
Right, let's get to Minnesota, New Orleans now.
Two teams, number 1 and number 2, that actually played really well. Other than Arizona scoring really early on the Saints, that was it. The Saints just smoked them all the way through. The Vikings smoked Dallas all the way through. And I'm looking for, I think this game will be a higher scoring. Obviously, the books do too, because they've got 11 points higher in this total than the other game, and it's a much more competitive line, -4,
-7
-4.5.
points less than the than the Arizona New Orleans game, though.
Yeah.
So you get a full touchdown less there.
Yeah. It's the total 52.5. The last time they played, there were 57 points scored. The over-under was 55.5. Two dome teams, fast track, won't have to worry about footing or anything. When these two teams have played the last 10 times they've met, we've had 8 overs and 2 unders, Sonny, and that's regardless of the total, whether it was up in the 30s, the 40s, or the 50s.
Right.
82
again, to the over.
52.5, big number, but 50, 51, and 53 are key numbers. 52.5, if you like the over, is a hell of a lot better than 53.5, believe me.
Okay, and you got a system for?
We have a system there, yeah, and what it is this is going back to the conference finals. This isn't like a regular season. This is an actual playoff system going back to 1976. And regardless of whether the team is at home or on the road, and regardless of the line, whether they're a favorite or a dog, 1 point, 14 points, doesn't matter. It's 11-4 against the spread going back to 1976, Sonny. It's 8-1, 88%, going back to 1993. And 93 is when we had parity and salary caps and, the movement of the players. And the last 7 times since 1995 in the conference finals, it's 7-0, 100% against the spread.
Play on Minnesota.
It says to take the Vikings in this spot.
I don't like the Vikings in this spot. You're getting better than a field goal, so maybe I think that New Orleans, I say this with every sport, with pitchers in baseball, with basketball teams, with football teams, you get in rhythms. You're in, and then you're out, and injuries have a lot to do with it. The Saints are healthy now on defense.
Very healthy.
I think they're back in rhythm. That little time off helped them. They didn't miss a beat. They look like the Saints last week that started the season out of the gate.
Yeah.
And I say that spells trouble for a Green Bay team who I watched get beaten badly in the road in Chicago.
They looked bad at Chicago. They looked bad in Carolina. They looked bad in Arizona. They looked okay in Pittsburgh. Turnovers did them in there. Huge home field edge here. Minnesota, 9-0 at home, not the same team on the road. I agree. There's more to handicapping than just systems, but I look at all of the parameters, special teams and takeaways and everything.
So I don't have a strong play for you yet, guys. Just some opinions. I already did make the one play teasing the 2 favorites. I know it's kind of a Joe Public play, but I just think the 2 better teams, the 2 teams that have been the best, probably the best teams in each conference throughout the season. Hopefully, I'd like to see them meet in the Super Bowl. That's our segment, BetRepublic Daily Line. Be sure to join us over at BetRepublic.com every day for picks and analysis on all sports. See you over at BetRepublic.com.